for me, if I have to share my experience in some way, it was really interesting, like to be part of international program. I really appreciate because like sometimes I really like feel lonely when you want to be like a change maker and you want to try to change the system. It's not really easy, and when you embrace the complexity, you really need like some support. So what I found in mm, this program is really like a platform where you can like be there, meet like others people. You can have like some coaching. I think this one for myself was one of the most interesting part, and above all, to have like tool in which you can like apply and try to change the system like from inside, because I personally think it's not possible to change the system alone. So it's important to have like other also like some partners, some people who want to achieve like the same goal that you have, but like from like different backgrounds. So for me it was really interesting to be part of like something like this, first of all to give me hope. I think that's important to have it, but also with like some tools. And when we speak about like why in some way you should apply, I think first of all for like personal challenges, I think that's also always nice to meet people that are doing the same from you, so can give you like energy and motivations, but also for yourself as like a personal challenge. So like when you developed like I'm doing my PhD on post growth, so it's really interesting for me like when I develop something to see if like something which I thought it can be really be like feasible, and it can be applied to like other people. So I think it's really interesting to have also like some feedbacks. I think like each environment has like its own characteristics, so it's not really easy to find a way to bring something where you work. In my institutions, I have to say in the last period, I really see a big change also in the mentality for young people when we speak about sustainability. So I think organizing some like activities, some workshop can really be one of the main point of what I get from the program and try to, let's say, to copy and paste in my institutions. So to have some sort of like to start some conversation about what we have spoken in the program. And I think also it can be really interesting in some way to spread the coaching program. For me, it was really helpful. I think I found a really interesting person who were also on my topic. So from one side, we spoke about mainly like how it's possible for a person who is like starting up a PhD to think like at the global level, but also we spoke about like about post growth and my topic. So it was interesting to have also another person in which I can connect and we can discuss big questions. So the program I really like the coaching one, really interesting for my case. I think first of all like we should like uh, when we speak about sustainability, I personally think that we have to understand it before to do something on it. For if I would be an example, a teacher or a ministry, so I can like change the policies in some way. I think it's important to show people like children, kids, but also people, I think, to show what is the environment, what is the ecosystem. I think it's not easy to protect something or to do something for if you do not understand. So first of all, for me, I think it's important to make awareness on the planet, but also on the ecosystem and how the ecosystem is like supporting us. I think this is one important point that we should like shift. I personally think like in our system, economic system, let's say, we are mainly pushed to think like in an individual way. So we do not recognize the value of the sharing and the common, which is like a supporting us in the end. And I think like this like change, so understand it and like give value can really be one of the big change that can enable us to make a transition in a fair way. Because I personally think the transition that we are having now is just for the richer country or like a developed country. By the way, I don't really know like how can we define the developed country, a country which is like overshooting and like, and so it's doesn't have the capacity to enable future generation to prosper. So I mean, so also the definition of the development for me is really like a tricky in some way. So understand it, so first of all, but also like give value, like recognize the value of the common. That's for me is the most important thing where we should start.
And if I were to show you the I5 framework here, how we can make learning meaningful, foster joy, support social interaction, facilitate active engagement, and design for iteration with her signature moves. How would you make sense of this? What would you bring? Which ones resonate? What would you bring to your higher education institution?
Okay, yeah. I think they're really like all connected in some way. That's like something that was I think we saw before that as you showed to me. But in some way, like it's more like a process, you know. So we have to follow some kind of like a path. If I have to stay, I I like all of them, of course, but I really like the one like on well-being, so like joy, because I think you have to. That's where like I personally think is the understanding, because like if you have some well-being, if you're good, you you feel it, and so you can share it. That's why I really like let's say the joy stuff. And when we speak about like the well-being also, I think it's important that like we recognize, as I said before, that's interconnected. So our well-being is related also to the well-being of other like species and people. That's I think is one of the key message that we should send, because like in my last presentation, an example, we spoke a lot about the well-being. And when we had some sort of like a focus group, and like people never mentioned the well-being of like other people, you know, just the well-being of their community. So I think there is a really a gap here to feel that we are really interconnected, and if we do not understand it, I don't think so it's possible to achieve also the personal well-being, you know. So in some way also, if you want to be selfish, you have to understand it, you know. So it's a trick also, this point.
Thank you. And yeah, it brings me back to Natasha's quote in the May session of the I5. Not sure if you were in that one or the other one, but she said, joy is not an unserious matter. How a lot of academics feel like it's somehow not serious and not rigorous enough. And how when we have fun, when we learn much better. And when we're well, the society and classrooms and education just enters the brain better, and yeah, we tend to forget that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like the learning by doing, I think it's always like better. But also I think it's so tricky, because in our economic system now, I think we don't have the time to play in some way. Like we are always full, you know, for work or like busy stuff. So I think like our economic system in some way doesn't, it's not designed in order to give you time to play. I mean, or the play that we really need, because I don't know, if I think a person who is working, I don't know, 45 hours per week, I understand him or her, like when they say like, I don't want to do something on like a Saturday on like a social issue, you know, like I'm tired, you know, that's really understandable. So I think the play should put like in the design part of the ecosystem as one of the social change, and to be part of a community, be political active, which like does not means just like to vote each 4 years, you know, but to be really active on the city, at the community level, in your neighborhood, you know, like I I don't want to say daily, but I don't know, like weekly or like something like this, something more like on the territory. I really like the capability approach by Amartya Sen, in which like he mainly say that like the well-being is given like by doing and being. So like from one side you have to be, so you need like the consumption of like basic goods, so you have to satisfy the basic needs, okay? And also here we can discuss about the basic needs, and I personally think that each community has its own basic needs, so it's important that like each own community, they define for them what are. And also we have the doing, so the doing, as we just say about what is your like your personal purpose, like what kind of value do you bring in the community where do you live. So it's not just like to consume, as we are like in the GDP measure, you know, but that's also some more immaterial stuff, like how are you able to contribute to the society. And so like metrics on like how the infrastructure allow you to participate, which that's really like go like beyond GDP, can be really interesting to have like something like this. I think there are really few sustainable leader outside, really few. And because I think it's like a difficult also to understand it and to conceptualize. For me, a sustainable leader is a person who first of all has like a view of the system, so as the picture in mind. This one is it's so crucial. And it's important that like this person is like aware in like share and try to transmit the urgency of the change that we really need. I think you're not like a really a leader, or like you cannot be defined as sustainable leader if you do not get the urgency of of the problem in which we are. This one for me is like crucial. Second, it's really important to like give the motivation, or at least like to show the utopia pathway in which like we should go. And doesn't mean like to give the solution, because maybe you don't have it. That's like normal, I think. But you have to show where we have to go, and so you can like enable the thinking and the design of the person to create and to design their own like path, so they can like give like their contribution, give like their background to the solution. Because also that's no one solution, that's the thing. So as a leader you cannot have all the answer, you have to be really inspired and create the context in which the person that are like some colleagues, they can work on it and they can be like inspired. That's for me as a sustainable leader. That's really important. And like the thinking and what you say has to be followed also by some action always. That's not possible to like just speak. That's the thing. I consider myself an academia in some way. And I think for us it's important to like show data about the situation and about now, but also how the future can looks like. So the data, I think when we speak about like science, their data. So they cannot the people, they cannot complain on a data. They're like just there, they are like objective. So like data, that's the first thing. Second thing, for us, I think it's really important to enable people to design. An example, currently I have also a project which is called Green Stage, which has the goal like to make the theater sector more sustainable. And here, of course, I don't want to say to the artists how they have to make like their show, but I want to tell them and I want to enable them to think in a specific like a context. So maybe we should start also to rethink the concept of innovation, because like if we are in a different context, I really ask you, I want to enable you to develop like some like a performance in a context which takes in account the situation in which we are at the moment. So it's important for us to give the tool, to give it the context, and to push people to act and deal, let's say, within the planetary boundaries. Because I think that's important, that like every job that we are going to do now has to be like thought and designed in a concept in which has to say within the ecosystem. If it's not, I think that's not fair. That's not a really an innovative job, or like people should like understand that like with like their job, they don't bring like any value to the community. So that's really a mindset, like a shift this way, like from like individual to like commune. And teachers should also like bring this kind of like value. So when the teacher in school, they should bring like fair, equality, social justice as the main course, and not just, I don't know, in the university I have been teach that as an economist, I have to make a profit always. That's my like the main goal. But actually, I mean, I think that's important, profit, but that's important also how you deliver it. I mean, that's really important. That so big change, I think, like up front here.